and all the distinguished guests who are here. I am glad views on population are beginning to converge. There has been quite a bit of confusion on these issues of population and growth and development. In 1810, in the United Kingdom, there was a man, he was a priest, he was a reverend. I think he was a sheikh like the one who was here. That man was called Alfred Malthus. At that time, the population of UK was 10 million people. So this man Malthus wrote documents, I think he even wrote a book, saying that disaster was going to strike because people were no longer dying, because the health services are sort of improved and dying had reduced. Then he said that as a consequence, population was growing geometrically, while food production was growing arithmetically. And therefore, he predicted a disaster. Today, the population of UK is 65 million people, and it is much more prosperous than it was in 1810. And then there are other examples. In 1961-62, when I started following events, the population of China was 650 million people. And they were still not so wealthy. Now they are 1.3 billion, but they are much more wealthy than they were at that time. India in 1962 was 430 million people. They are now 1.2 billion people. Again, much more prosperous than they were. Even other countries, Turkey, Iran, many of those countries, the population have more than doubled. Brazil was like 30 million something. So therefore, population per se is not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is lack of economic growth and transformation. And what we need for the economy to grow, those are factors we have talked about before. Education, health, as Dr. Xamamugaro was saying, infrastructure, investments to create jobs. That's what we need. Now, if you control population only, and you don't work on the other factors I have talked about, education, health, infrastructure, job creation, you are not going to go far. However, what Dr. Xamamugaro was saying is also correct. If you combine economic growth and transformation, and family planning. Some people are mixing family planning with population control. Don't mix the two. Don't think that we are talking of having a small population indefinitely. African population has been small actually. By even today, the population of Africa is only 1 billion people. Yet, India, which is 10 times smaller in land area than Africa, is 1.2 billion people. So we are not talking about population control. We are not saying that the population should remain small for no good reason. But family planning, as Dr. Sam Mugabe explained very well, and even Dr. Opendi, there is a Dr. Opendi also. As they explained, family planning is first of all good for the mother. It is for the health of the mother, first and foremost. So that this lady is not ruined, her health is not ruined by having too many children, which can result into ruining the woman's health. But it is also good for the children. What if the families have got too many children? They don't look after them well. You find the children are growing like wild plants. Nobody's caring for them because there are too many. Therefore, and then it's also good for the family, because if the family doesn't spend all their money on just children, that means they can save and create wealth. I don't know what the Sheikh was saying. I don't know what he was trying to say. And I will call them and hear what they are saying. Now, if the Sheikh was trying to say that family planning is against God, well, I am a sort of religious person myself. And I read the book of Genesis. And in the book of Genesis, God said, establish dominion over nature. And he said also multiply and fill the earth. Then the Sheikh, what happens after you have filled the earth? Then what do you do? So, if the Sheikh thinks that this is anti-God, that this conference is a conference against God, because it is talking about family planning, then I have one challenge for him. First, the sheikhs and the reverends must look after their families well, so their families are well. Then they can come with examples. They can say, look here, I have got 50 children, but they are all well educated, they are healthy, they are employed. Then you can come and preach to me. But before you have done that, please just keep quiet. So, the family planning is good for the health of the mother, is good for the health of the children, is good for the welfare of the family. and it's also good for the country. So really we shouldn't waste time on this, because it has been demonstrated. China, the China I'm talking about, although the population grew from 650 to 1.3 billion, but they were so drastic, even today, they insist on only one China. It is a famous policy of China. It is called the one-child policy. Because those leaders saw that the country was facing danger. Too many people, when the country was still underdeveloped, they are now debating whether they should relax it a bit or not. There's some debate going on there right now. But China has already come out of poverty. They are now the second richest economy in the world. And they say one China. And for them, you know, they don't joke. They're not like here. Even India, there have been a lot of efforts in family planning, and South Korea, and so on and so forth. So I think this one is clear enough. We are not talking about having a small population. Uganda can have this 70 million people. Japan is slightly bigger than Uganda in land area, but they have got a population of 127 million. And they are all very wealthy, very wealthy. But the question is, what type of population do you have? Are you having a population of just peasants? People who don't know how to read and write? People who are not well fed, who are not healthy? What sort of population are you talking about? And then what Dr. Samuel Ngero said, this very high dependency ratio. Too many children, too few people who are working. The other structure which he showed, can you come and show it again? That is Malaysia now. You see there are fewer children at the base. Then in the middle, you have got different layers of working people. Then up there you get fewer very old people, or something like that. That's the health structure. Ours, the other one. Ours, you can see. It is the one hour. Now you can see that one is how it is. Very few, first of all, very few very old people, then very few people in the middle, and then the working people, and then a lot of dependents. Thank you very much. So, I am happy to be here and associated with this conference. I used to have a lot of arguments with Professor Babatunde, but we had very long meetings in Entebbe, and by the time we got to London for the famous conference which we had there with the wife of Bill Gates, we were all speaking one language. Not just family planning, but economic development, health, infrastructure development, holistic packaging. So, the Reverend did not pray for the conference. You know, I had a problem with some of the Reverends. My late father he had his two wives. My mother, the senior wife, and the young wife whom he brought to reinforce us. In 1955, when I was already an old boy, and I went with him to look for the new wife. We went together. Now, when the new wife came, she reinforced us with quite a number of my brothers and sisters. Of course, he had been a Christian. My father had been baptized, but he had his two wives. And he had no problem. And we were all doing very well. Then in 2001, my mother died. So we remained with the other second mother. Then these reverends, like him, they came and said, my father should go for wedding. Imagine at 85 or something. So I told these fellows, I say, you fellows, you are confused. Do you mean you are celebrating the death of the other old man? So, I told the Reverend who was pushing that line, I said, no, this one will not take place because you are disturbing us. We have been doing very well, and now you come to bring this confusion. Then the Reverend said,